There is no way that he just said this, as we are now 8 days away from opening day. The Vladimir Guerrero Jr. situation keeps getting crazier and crazier, and what he just said in a recent interview has fans fired up. We're to break down exactly what his comments are and discuss what they mean going forward for his future with the Blue Jays. So stay tuned for all that in this episode, folks. But before we get into it, if you're a part of the 70% who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Jays content. Your guys' support has been absolutely unbelievable. So if you want to help us towards our big goal of 20,000 subscribers, make sure to hit that subscribe button. And thank you guys again for your continued support over here on the channel. And ladies and gentlemen, there is a lot to go over today. Obviously, I made a video earlier on George Springer and how his impact with the Toronto Blue Jays is going to be crucial this upcoming year. But of course, something that's going to be taking the headlines not only over the next month, over the next few months, and as the regular season continues to get underway here starting next week, also into the future for the Toronto Blue Jays, and that is Vladimir Guerrero Jr.'s future with this team beyond next season. And quite frankly, the Jays are in a very interesting spot. And let's dive right into what he said, because this came out, man, oh man, does it have fans absolutely fired up. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on his upcoming free agency, he said, "I'll speak to every team, including the Yankees." So there's a bunch of different context behind this, but man, oh man, what an absolutely, I'm not going to say disastrous thing to say, because at this point we are all fairly used to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. coming out to the media, speaking publicly about what he said, speaking publicly about his willingness to go to a bunch of different teams. But for him to come out, a week or two, depending on when this is recorded, we have some info on that as well. But, days before the regular season starting, and to say that I'll speak to every team, including the Yankees, putting himself back into headlines as it pertains to his future with this team is just, it is annoying at the very least. And again, he's allowed to do whatever he wants. That's fine. But also considering the fact that there were some new reports that dropped surrounding the actual asking price for Vladimir Guerrero Jr., they have been conflicted a little bit by this specific, of course, quote that Vladdy had. And there's a lot of different reactions here that I want to get. So let's start with this one from JD Bunkus. Has a player ever done this much on his free agent plans right before a season? This feel like he's either trying to stick it to the Jays or desperately wants them to sign him before the season starts. Can't figure out which, though. And this is where I want you guys to let me know down below in the comment section, because this is where it gets super interesting. Vladdy continues to speak to the media publicly about where his contract negotiations are, about why he wants to, how much he wants, all these different things. And we know that it's been leaked how much he was asking for, how much, whatever it was, $550 million, all these different things after deferrals. And then for him to come out and says he'll speak to every team during his free agency period. We heard this a few weeks ago, but this is in a new interview, keep in mind. And this one is even more interesting. So I'm a little bit surprised he's continuing to bring it up, and that's why fans have gotten a little bit restless with this, and just everybody, fans, reporters, even people around baseball that aren't Jays fans, because they're excited now to have the opportunity to get Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's one thing to be asked questions at an obligatory media availability, in which case he could still choose to not comment, but these are prearranged, voluntary sit-down interviews. He's choosing to let this be a distraction, and I think it's a good point here by Jen. Like, we're at the point now where he is going out of his way, rightfully so. I mean, he has the right to do that. He can do whatever he wants, but he's going out of his way to go ahead and actually speak to the media about this. And it's not just Jays media. I mean, this, whether it's, Dominican reporters, whether it's the Yankees media, like all these different things. Obviously not the New York Yankees direct media. It's not going to them, but people come up to him. He is willing to do it and say that he's willing to speak to every team. And it's less about what he's actually saying, because of course, if he hits free agency, he will speak to every team, and every, free agent probably would in those shoes, because that gives you the best chance to get a decent offer, get an offer that will defeat the Blue Jays offer, all these different things, and will beat it. But for him to continue to say this, and for him to say that, and let's not forget, this is what he said in the quoted interview a few months ago about how he doesn't want to be a distraction to his teammates. "I don't want, especially for my teammates, to go through any distractions. I'm here today, I'm ready, and I want to win a lot of games, and I want to get to the playoffs. That's all." Which was a great comment at the time, and it still technically is a good comment. But the amount of videos I've made, the amount of things we've had to discuss surrounding Vladimir Guerrero Jr. talking to other people about this is absurd and directly goes against what he said, because Vladimir Guerrero Jr., he's spoken out so many times. Of course, I've had to make videos on it because Vladdy has spoken to so many different media sources about this specific issue. It is wild that he's not just putting his head down now and focusing on this upcoming season. Now, again, he can do whatever he wants. I'm not hating on him for doing this necessarily. It's just a little bit weird with the timing that all these things are coming out, because you're at a point now where the number one focus should be on the regular season. Like, we're a week away. I'm not over the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. stuff as it pertains to the Jays missing out and signing him and all the different, the front office should have done better. But at the same time, we're a week away from the regular season. You need to prepare for the regular season now. And sure, continue negotiations, all these things. I covered a report from Hector Gomez a few days ago, basically saying that the Jays are going to offer another amount. It's interesting what will actually happen. But you see this here from Brandon. The idea that Vlad's floor is $500 million if he has a bad year. Come on, because this was also a part of this little interview he had. He said, if I have a bad year, my floor is $500 million. Realistically, I'm worth right now $200 million less than Soto. Vladdy's interview was posted yesterday on YouTube. Doesn't really mesh with Rosenthal's $500 million ask report unless it was filmed a month ago and just posted now. And it seems like that the interview was filmed on March 8th. Rosenthal reported Vladdy turned down $500 million on March 11th. So someone was either wrong here or Vladdy, is just playing some interesting games. But according to all accounts, this specific interview was on March 8th. And of course, it got released today on YouTube. But if that is the case, then it seems that his actual number that he was asking for, which was, of course, we reported $500 million, seems, not true. But at the same time, we heard from Shadavidi as well. So there's a lot of different back and forth coming here because Vladdy in the interview said, okay, floor. Let's dive into that comment a little bit because that's a bit absurd. He said that his floor is $500 million if he has a bad year, which is absolutely absurd. We'll probably have another video on this covering it later. $500 million is definitely not his floor if he has a bad year. He's had 2 good seasons in the MLB, really 3, but 2 really standout seasons. And of course, 2022 was good as well. So we'll say 3 good seasons, 2 specifically stand out. If he comes out and has an 800 OPS year, which by all accounts is very good, and it's very possible as well, but let's say he has an 800 OPS year, 20% better than league average or whatever it would be, right? His OPS plus of 200 or 120. Sorry. No team in the right mind is paying a first baseman who's had 3 okay years, 3 good years, $500 million. And I think at this point, it's either Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is a little bit blind to what actually the market for him actually is, which would also kind of lend credence to why the team specifically hasn't given him a huge offer, because they think that if he has a mediocre year, then there's no world he's going to get the amount of money that people think or that he necessarily thinks. But to have this come out followed by, that's in itself is a crazy quote as well, $500 million. It's all just at a point now where fans are sick of hearing about all this. They're sick of listening to it. And as you start to continue, again, we are now days away from opening day. The Toronto Blue Jays, this team you see on the screen right now, plays the Baltimore Orioles in 8 days from the time of recording and the time of uploading. The focus needs to be on the Toronto Blue Jays winning baseball games, because the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. thing, unless he extends, in the next week, is going to be something talked about the whole year. But just go out, perform, play well, and the Jays, and hopefully they figure it out after. But for now, lock in for the season. But let me know down below what your thoughts are on this. A $500 million floor seems absolutely ludicrous. He continues to say some interesting things, and he's still a Blue Jay. Still obviously going to root for him, and he's a great player. We all love Vladdy, but man, oh man, these comments have been getting more and more interesting with each passing day. But that'll wrap it up. Let me know down below what your thoughts are.